Welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show, and we are coming to you live from CES 2018 here in Las Vegas. And I'm excited because now I'm here with Dr. Kevan. And Dr. Kevan, you're going to tell us all about this great new product. And I want you to tell our listeners what you have here because it's the MEGAComfort. Do I have it right?
Well, actually, that's one of our products, but what we're launching at CES is the Energy Soul.
The Energy Soul. All right, well, tell us about that one because it's right here, so I'm excited to hear about it.
Sure. So a little background about myself and my company. I'm the CEO and founder of MEGAComfort. I'm a podiatrist by profession, a foot doctor, and the company's been in business for over 15 years now. We are what we like to call a work-life wellness solutions company. So our product, our flagship product, the personal anti-fatigue mat insole, it's the #1 or the leading insole in the industrial market. So what we're talking about here is people who stand or walk for more than 2 hours a day in the workplace.
Everybody here wants that. I'm telling you, I've been putting in my steps and I need something to help me with that because I'm telling you, my feet have been killing me.
So it's 3 days into CES and I think I'm going to be the
For
last
us,
man.
it's been 4.
I'm going to be the last man standing and walking because I've got my insoles in my
You
shoes.
probably are going to be.
So our insoles have been proven over the last 15 years to reduce pain and fatigue for people who are at work and obviously increase comfort, which then ultimately increases productivity. So we have a comfort product. We have a proven comfort product. What we're doing now is we're actually adding technology to the equation. So we're bringing comfort and technology together into one product.
So how does it actually work? I know you're saying that because we've heard about comfort soles and things like this over the years that are supposed to do that, but what makes yours really different when you think about what you're bringing to the market today?
So what we have is, I can hold up the product
yeah, we'd love
here.
To
sure,
show that.
absolutely. It's a dual layer memory foam. So people say, what makes your insole? Sure, what makes your insole different? And it's the material combination. So we have a patented dual layer memory foam. We were actually the first one to start using memory foam in our insoles. You see all kinds of companies now, you see memory foam this, memory foam that. We were the first ones 15 years ago that started using memory foam in insoles. So memory foam was developed by NASA in the 60s, and what they did is they developed it to protect the astronauts against the G-forces of blastoff. So it's the best material out there for shock absorption. So when it came to deciding what material was I going to use in my insole, memory foam made the most sense. So then what we did is we created a dual layer effect. So you have 2 different densities of memory foam. So it's that unique patented combination that makes our insole so much different than everything out there in the market. And as I said, we've proven over the last 15 years through clinical testing and field testing with a lot of the large corporations out there that our insoles truly are a comfort product.
So now you have an app and you're connecting this, so how does this all work together?
Sure, so this is our standard product, was our standard product, and what we've done is we've now added the sensor. So we, very simply, it's a chip that will be put into the insole. It'll be a removable chip, and that's where we have the sensors inside of there, and obviously the sensors then will connect up to your phone, your app, through Bluetooth, like the other wearables.
So over time though, how does this, wear? Someone says, okay, I've purchased this, it's now wearing over time. So what kind of things are you tracking as you're walking? Great
question, Peggy. So basically the insoles themselves we find have about on average a 6-month lifespan. Okay, now the chip itself will have a long-term lifespan, so it's something that what the person will be able to do is they'll be able to take the chip out, it'll be a removable chip, and they'll be able to place it into a new insole. So they'll have to replace the insole part every 6 months, but then the technology, that's something they would have. The other really important thing about this, there are other smart insoles that have tried to come out in the market. Obviously, there's a couple here. The difference with ours is twofold. First and foremost, it's an insole. Any other wearable that's on your wrist, you take it every couple days, you charge it in the wall, you recharge it. Be frank, nobody wants to take a stinky, smelly insole out of their shoe, put it on your kitchen table and charge it. So that was a challenge for us. So we've overcome that, and we have a long-lasting battery in there that we're expected to get about 3 to 6 months battery life.
Battery life.
And the idea is there is no recharging necessary. However, after 3 months, person can flip the lid open on the case and just put in, it's another very simple, coin cell battery.
You're pretty much showing us how.
Yeah, so you would just basically flip open the little lid and just replace the battery inside the case there. So it's quite simplistic. So some of the things that we are measuring. Okay, so first and foremost, I tell the story is my daughter went out and bought a wrist wearable. And her first day, she was so excited. She was like, Daddy, I just did 10,000 steps. I was like, Jenna, honey, no, you didn't. I think maybe you did 2,000 steps.
Oh no, you just shattered her world.
I shattered her world, but I said, Jenna, Daddy's going to create a smart insole, so Daddy can now measure your steps accurately. So that's a big differentiator, is the fact that we're able to accurately measure steps. So everybody's trying, step count, but it doesn't make sense to measure in the same way as you wouldn't measure your wrist motion on your foot. Why would you measure steps on your wrist?
So that's a really good question, because we've had a big debate here. The four of us have been walking around that are here, and everybody's counts have been different. So does that have to do with momentum by their arms, and they're really not getting it based on we're all getting different counts?
Absolutely. So I was on vacation last week and I went horseback riding, and it said I walked 2 miles. I didn't walk 2 miles, the horse walked 2 miles. Okay, so what it is the phone, I didn't have a wrist wearable, but I was using my phone. The phone was in my pocket, so every time it was going like this, it was counting a step in error. Now you have situations where, which we'll get into a little bit, about how companies are rewarding their employees for doing so many steps. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cheating going on. Someone can get, even from a personal level, they can get to mid-afternoon, early evening, my goal's 10,000 steps, I've only done 8,000, and they just do this. Exactly, and people are doing it. So what we're actually doing is we're measuring steps right at the point of contact. We have an impact sense technology. There cannot be any cheating. It only measured when you truly do take a step. So that is one of our hallmarks of our product, the accuracy. The accuracy is, we're right now in our testing, our initial testing, we've got ourselves up to a 98% accuracy with step count.
Is this really just for trying to get step count, or is it actually more for the comfort, or both that you want to achieve with this?
It's both. The other interesting thing is when we did a soft launch of the product at CE Week this past summer in New York, and a lot of the feedback we got was people were like, that's great about the accuracy of the step count, but what about how I walk? I mean, so we're telling everyone, go out and walk and go do 10,000 steps, but what about the efficiency of the 10,000 steps? Maybe I'm not even walking in the right way, maybe I'm not wearing the right shoes, maybe I'm not wearing the right insoles. So we went back to the drawing board, and what we developed is, into our algorithm, we developed a bit of a gait analysis. So now what we're able to do, the word that people use, it's called pronation supination. So that's the angulation of how somebody walks. So in part of our app, you actually get a pronation and supination percentage out of 100 for each foot. And what you can do is you can see this information cumulatively, or you can compare. So I can go out and walk 100 steps. Maybe I'm wearing these shoes, these insoles, this version of the MEGAComfort insole, and then I can go out and I can walk 200 steps or 100 steps again without an insole or a different shoe or in a different way, and I can see, wow, look at this. With this in place, I've now been able to get myself to more what we call a neutral position. In other words, not the supinated, not the pronated.
And are they finding it, if they were wear these certain shoes, cause that problem, which you were talking about, the pronation? So these might help with that problem with certain shoes that they're wearing.
Sure, if you go into any the running shoes have really evolved like this. If you go in a running shoe store, they say, what type of arch do you have? Do you have a flat foot? And then they'll usually have different sections of footwear. So they'll have the footwear for the flat foot, the footwear for the high arch foot. So there are different shoes out there that are geared towards the different type of feet that people have. So you're right, if somebody they find they're pronating, what they would then do in their app is saying, oh wow, I'm pronating 80% every time I walk, then what we'll do is we're also going to build in, myself being a podiatrist with my podiatry background, we'll offer some tips to people. So I'll offer, I guess you say, tips from the podiatrist. So these are ways that you can improve, and it would say, okay, next time you go to the running store, or you go to the store to buy shoes, maybe look into a shoe that is something that's going to provide more stability, so it will help with the pronation. We're then going to take this one step further, and we're going to actually combine the pronation score with a proprietary score that I've developed. And what we're going to bring in is such things as your stride length, your cadence, and symmetry. And we're going to provide an overall movement score. So that's your overall movement score that you'll see. And again, then what will happen is you'll get tips on how you can improve this movement score.
So are you then ultimately hoping to help the general athlete with what they're doing with that whole score? Is that your goal?
So it's interesting you say that. So I don't like to consider this product a fitness product. The app we're developing is not a fitness app. We're going for a whole different market here. So our genesis, being in the industrial health and safety market, is people in the workplace. But what we realize, it's about this 24/7. Okay, now it's all about this work-life balance. So if you think about it, you may be tracking yourself at home, and then when you get to the job, I have to take off my tracker, or I can't have my phone with me. So now, I've done 4,000 steps in the morning, but then how many steps did I do the rest of the day when I was at work? So the beautiful thing about this being in the insole, you can have our insole, the energy sole, you could have that in your safety boots, you could have another one in your running shoes, you could have another one in your walking shoes, and all of the data will collect together through the app, and you would be able to see your total or your cumulative. So what we're really looking for is not the athlete. I'm not saying an athlete can't wear our insoles. Athletes love our insoles. They can track it as well. But really what we're gearing towards is really that everyday person and that 24/7 work life where they'll be able to see how they're doing through the whole day.
Because there's some people who aren't generally considered true athletes that go work out at the gym, maybe play tennis or do something that they say, I just like to know how was my full day of what I did.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to do. And then if we can just bring this a little bit back to the workplace. Okay. So with that, our genesis being the workplace, part of our app is what we're going to do is we're going to have a light version of a whole corporate health and wellness app. Okay. So the idea behind this is when you get on the app, you'll be able to set your personal goals. You may have a group of friends where you'll be able to set your team goals, and there will be a thing where you'll get an invitation from your company where it'll be your corporate goal. So let's say my personal goal is 7,000 steps. My company may have a goal, or my department may have a goal at my company for 7,500 steps. So you'll be able to see on the app, wow, look, I've just about reached my personal goal. I still have this to reach my corporate goal. We're then going to tie this into other metrics and things where you'll be able to keep track of your breathing, your hydration. That's another very important thing in the workplace. And another huge one right now is sit stand. And that's the other beautiful thing about the insole. We're actually able to measure when somebody is standing versus sitting. So now the person will be able to see, wow, I'm standing this much, I'm sitting, because you know what they're saying now, what is it, sitting is the new smoking. Okay, that's the tagline. So it's very important for people to be able to keep track of how much they're standing at work and how much they're sitting. So we'll tie all this into our app. Then you bring in the whole gamification, and this is something that's going on right now. A lot of companies are getting together with their insurance providers, and if somebody is active and reaches a certain goal, they get rewards, either gift cards or sometimes paid time off. Plus we'll be able to see maybe a certain department gets so many points. What we'll have is a weighted score. So privacy is another important thing. So how we see this developing is the company or your employer will not see, I walked 3,000 steps. What they would see is I earned 1 star in my step count, or I earned 2 stars. So they don't see the raw data, they just see a score, and then they're able to action the score.
Don't you ultimately, though, see if you did let companies see that, they might see something on a safety side? So if there was a worker working too much, they might be able to say, hey, that guy or that gal is working too much, and there might be a hazard for them. I think about like construction job sites. Somebody's working too much in the heat. They've been out there too long, too much. They need to hydrate, what you just said.
Right.
Is there a side to this that maybe ultimately you might be able to show another side to this at some point?
It's a very tricky thing and a slippery slope. So what we do want, we will have the ability that if the employee wishes the employer to see the information, you're right. They would say, okay, we have no issue with the employer seeing my personal information. Maybe they only want the employer to see step count. Maybe they don't want them to see the hydration or something. So we'll tailor it so the employee will be, but we want to put the power for that into the employee, because I think that's a very important thing, that the employee makes that decision from a privacy standpoint of what information the employer sees. But again, a lot of times and again, that's a great thing about the insole. It's one of these things, for a product to be viable in the workplace, you have to have a buy-in from the employer and the employee. Right. Both need to want it. So I think from the employee standpoint, because there will be incentives and it is for their safety, I think a lot of employees will allow their companies to see the data, but then the ones that don't want it, I think there has to be that mechanism as well.
Is this available now?
So the insole itself that we've been selling for 15 years. This is just the comfort product. It's available through our the large industrial distributors out there in the marketplace right now. It's also available through Amazon. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be probably launching this towards the end of the spring. Okay, we're going to be adding the technological component. What we're set about to do now is to basically we're going to go to a bunch of our what we call our stakeholders. So in other words, these large corporations that we're already working with right now, that are the employees are getting the insoles. We're going to go to them and we're going to start doing some pilot tests with them, integrating the technology, because maybe what we will see is, again, that certain things that we are measuring, maybe this is something that we, is not as important, and other things. Like another thing that we'll be doing is another sensor that we're looking to add possibly is a temperature sensor. Well, again, if you think about it from a work standpoint, as you mentioned, from a safety standpoint, that's something now, if we're measuring the temperature of somebody's foot, and let's say they are in construction, well, maybe, that person's been outside and now their skin temperature.
Manufacturing, sure.
Exactly, it can be an issue, so we'll be able to bring alerts. Other things that we're possibly looking at down the road, again, we can start looking at things about posture, slip, trip, and fall prediction. So
slip, trip, and fall is huge.
It's huge. And it's amazing because there's so many things that we can actually measure in the foot. Now the other thing is the beautiful thing about an insole is everybody seems to have their own personal, I mean, people say, well, why didn't you make a smart shoe or a smart boot? Well, everybody seems to have their own personal preference. Some people like this brand, some people like that brand, some people wear this shoe, some people need to have a shoe that's narrow, some people need to have a shoe that's wide. The beautiful thing about an insole, no matter what the person's personal preference of their footwear, the insole will just go inside of that. So we take that whole, I guess, negative out of the equation. In other words, everybody can wear the insole. And it can go in, as I said, it can go in your running shoes, it can go in your safety boots. So it really allows for that whole comprehensive 24/7 all of the time.
What are we talking about in price for these versus what these will be once you put the sensor in?
Right, so another thing is, again, I've seen some of the other products here, and our current price point on our insole is $25. So we've created it that it's something that we have a lot of employers that actually subsidize and provide these for their employees. And again, at a $25 price point, it's something that can be easily done. It's something that's easily done. And even for the consumer, a $25 insole it's a very reasonable thing, again, with a 6-month replacement. What we're going to do is when we add the technology, we're looking at a price point of $75. So we're not looking, again, I've seen some of the other products out there, $150, $200. That's too much. I think it's too much from a consumer standpoint, and I think it's too much for an employer to start expecting them to shell out $150 for a pair of insoles. So we think that's the sweet spot. That's a very nice price point for people, $75 a pair, and that will include the technology.
Now the app itself, will you have the app at the same time?
So that's the other added bonus to this is the fact that if I can just, maybe I can bring up the app here and just show you some of the screens here. Again, it's brought in this whole thing. Obviously you see, this is a very interesting thing that we put in here as well. It's a notification screen. So if somebody is at the workplace and they're not allowed to have, they want to turn off their notifications, they'll be able to set the times that they actually receive the notifications. Again, you do get all the metrics. You're talking about this is a great one here as well. Calories. A lot of the wrist wearables, the calories that it's measuring is inaccurate because the calories are based on the step count. So if your step count is inaccurate, your calories are actually going to be more inaccurate. So we have all that, your distance, your total movement score. Again, we're keeping track of, again, the sit stand, the hydration, and then again, there you're able to compare now. So you're able to see, oh, this is what I did on Monday versus Tuesday versus Wednesday versus last week. And then we're going to bring in, again, that was the sit stand. There's your pronation supination.
And are you uploading all of this then to the cloud so they can keep track of this? Or
it's actually going to be on the app.
So it stays everything for them on the app, everything that they have?
Everything that they have will be, it'll be on
So you're not putting this for anything to any comparisons to anybody else that they might have?
How you do that is when you set it up and you set up your goals, you set up teams. So your team could be your sports team, Maybe it could be your group of, oh, I have 5 other ladies that I go jogging with. That could be your team, it could be your buddies. So in the same way as you can have your corporate goals, that was back at that other screen, you actually have your team goals. So you actually have 3 goal levels you can set. Your personal goals, your team goals, and your corporate goals.
So everybody else has to have the same app in order to be able to compare all of what they're doing.
They have to have the same app and obviously be wearing the Energy Souls. And then the last screen here is this is the leaderboard. So there again, maybe a certain department, the warehouse at a certain company, total all their scores, and they for that week had the most points that they earned, then maybe they get a special prize from the company. So it's all about this gamification, rewards, incentives. Again, a lot of insurance companies are actually now getting involved in this and actually providing even $1,000 to people or employees that are living a healthier lifestyle that again can be measured through the app.
Is the app available now? Have you?
No, so the app will be available when the insole.
But I mean, you're betaing it right now?
Yes, we're going to start testing this right after CES. Again, bringing involved some of our stakeholders into the equation.
What's been the feedback that you've had so far?
The feedback has just been. It's been overwhelming. It's actually been tremendous. I mean, first and foremost, here we are in Vegas, and people are just walking. So, I mean, they come to our booth and they're begging for the insoles in the first place, and then once we give them, it's what I call the oh wow moment when they first put the product in their shoes. So what's very interesting is in the workplace, again, you almost have to have a product that's out of sight, out of mind, because you can't have it interfering with their job. So what's great about our product, again, I think any wearable in the workplace is that whole sort of, it develops, that whole space, that whole thing, is the fact is that it can't interfere what they're doing, but I think it also has to provide a benefit itself. So people are wearing the insoles anyways, as I talked about, because it reduces the fatigue, it reduces the pain, increases the comfort. So the employees want to wear it. Now, that's great because from the employer standpoint, they're getting the increased productivity. So I think the fact that that it's a push-pull from the employer, from the employee, and again, the same way as maybe someone will get this insole at work, we see them buying a pair for their personal life, again, so that they can get that 24/7.
Have you had existing manufacturers that you're working with or other customers that have said, we like this, we want to actually see this sensor moved into that we would like that so we can be a part of our employees having this on a regular basis?
Again, these corporate health and wellness programs, they're out there. Some very large companies that are providing these platforms, which are very expensive for companies, and there's insurance companies that already have these platforms out there. So companies already have these programs in place. So we're actually sort of pushing everything together. They're already wearing the insole, now providing it for their employees. They're already doing the sort of the corporate health and wellness, but again, they're having some issues with some of the metrics they need to measure. Again, step count. A lot of, there's a big insurance company right now that is paying out I think $1,000 per employee based pretty much on step count. The problem is, it's an inaccurate step count.
Well, wellness right now is very big.
Huge,
I mean, we're seeing
huge.
A lot of that being, that's a big push in 2018. We're seeing a lot of companies trying to encourage that.
Right. So it's companies, but I think it's also individuals as well. I mean, even if you think about it, even in the schools now, there's a big push to have children live a healthier lifestyle, get more active. We have the obesity issue in this country, and trying to get the children more active, trying to get them out there. And what they found is through these fitness or these trackers, that people are using these, and it is motivating them. I know there was a study by the Heart Association. It shows that people are living a healthier lifestyle when they do have apps like this. Again, I think what MEGAComfort is bringing to the equation is the fact that, again, you're going to be able to more accurately measure your activity level, and you're going to get you're able to actually see how you are moving, which I think is another very important thing.
Sizes now, how does this work when you come into sizes for these?
Sure, so what we have is we have this product, it's a 6 SKU product, so it's in 6 sizes. It's not a one size fits all, because there again, when you have an arch with the product there, you don't want the arch to be in the wrong place and the heel to be in the wrong place. But we don't do every size because that gets to be a little bit too much. So what we found is it's a 6 size unisex product. So it's basically covers the men and the ladies, and it's 6 sizes, and it's very few times you need to trim it, but if you do need to trim it, there is a size trim line that people can use, so it is there for people if they need to use it.
So again, what's your URL so people can find you online and any information that they need?
Sure, so you can either go to www.EnergySoul, so the name of this product with the chip, we call that the Energy Soul, so www.energysoul.com, or obviously the company itself is MEGAComfort, MEGACOM as in Mary, FORT.com. And again, what our new tagline is for the company really is unlock potential. So what we're doing here is we're really unlocking, so you can go to #unlock potential. What we're actually doing is we're unlocking comfort and we're unlocking technology.
Now you have a booth here. Where are you guys located?
Sure, we're in the Sands Hall. We're in the Sands Hall D, booth 45140.
Now,
right near the Turner Sports Zone. So if people are heading over there later today to see Shaq and Mr. Barkley, they're doing a live broadcast. We're right near them.
So in all of this right now, it's been really crowded. What's your take on all of the new technology that's come out and that you're seeing right now?
I've seen a lot of new technology, and I think that I was at a workplace, what it's called the Enterprise Technology Summit in Boston a couple months back, and it seemed to be that a lot of companies, when new tech came out, everybody is rushing to get the new tech. Let's try this new tech. And what they've realized now, everybody seems to have taken a step back, and what they're saying now is, what is my pain point? What is my problem I'm trying to achieve? Once they've identified the problem they're trying to achieve, now they're saying, how can we go out and find the tech that will solve the problem that we're trying to achieve? So I think there's been a bit of a transition of that, and now not in other words, not just making tech for the sake of tech, but making tech to solve people's problems. And I think the other challenge for companies is, once they've developed the tech, seen there's a problem, is there's so much noise out there. How do they let people know about their product so that people can actually try it and use the product? So again, we're fortunate. We're very fortunate as a company. We're not here introducing some new technology, no sales. We are a company, we've been in business for 15 years. We're the #1 in our space. We have a proven product. What we're sort of doing is a little bit different. We're taking a proven product and we're adding a sort of an add-on benefit of technology to a core product.
And I think that makes a difference. You know, a lot of products come to market, they don't know if there's a niche in their need, and that's where we find out that they come and they crash and burn from CES. So, Dr. Kevan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Peggy.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, Peggy.
All right,
Thank
listeners,
you,
we're out of time, but you could tweet at us at ConnectedWMag, and you can tweet some questions and we'll certainly send them to Dr. Kevan. And in the meantime, if you have anything, certainly let us know again at ConnectedWMag. And as always, this is the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and relevant technology. And remember, with great technology comes great responsibility. We'll be right back after this quick break.